Hi everyone. In this video, we will learn more about the integumentary system. So this system is very much important because this is a visible system that we look at it like every day when we wake up and we look at the mirror, we see our faces, for example. So we see the skin, we wash our hands, we wash our faces. This system can also tell us if someone is young or old. This system also tells the race of a person, the ethnicity. So that's why this system is important, and we also have like some components to learn in this system. The main components of the integumentary system are the skin and subcutaneous tissues, right? And in between the skin and the subcutaneous tissue, which is, so this is the most superficial layer and this is the deepest layer, we have some other components that are called skin appendages or derivatives. So those elements, they derive from the skin, but so that's why they are called appendages. The main functions of the integumentary system are that they offer physical protection from environmental hazards, including air, toxic substances that may be present in the air or in water. This also helps in the thermal regulation because we sweat and sweat cools down the body temperature. It also acts in the synthesis and storage of lipid reserves, excretion of sweat, basically, and also toxins that we may excrete through our skin. Synthesis of vitamin D by the sun. Okay, with the help of the sunlight, the skin can also help to in the synthesis of vitamin D. Sensory information, because we have lots of sensory receptors in our skin that they detect temperature, pain, vibration, pressure. So the skin also is responsible for this sensory information, and also coordination of immune responses to pathogens and cancers in the skin. So we also have like immune cells that they act to protect our skin. So the skin is the organ that covers our whole body. So it serves as a protection. It's the largest organ in our body, the skin. It covers an area of approximately 2 square meters. And it's mainly composed by 2 layers. The epidermis is the superficial layer that you see here, and the dermis, okay, is the deep layer of the skin. So the skin is only 2 layers, epidermis and dermis. This one here that you see, subcutaneous tissues, is also called hypodermis. This is not part of the skin. The skin is only epidermis and dermis, okay? The skin is mainly made of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. The epidermis, sorry, now we are only focusing on the epidermis, which is the most superficial layer. It doesn't contain blood vessels and is mainly composed by keratinocytes. So keratinocytes are vastly spread over the skin. 90% are keratinocytes. They are located deep in the tissue. They produce keratin, which is a tough fibrous protein which has waterproof properties. Then also we have these massively keratinocytes spread all over the skin, and eventually we have other cell types that they are like somehow also interconnected with the keratinocytes. So we have melanocytes, which compose 8%. Melanocytes are the cells which produce melanin, the dark skin pigment that tells us if someone is white or has brown skin or black skin. Merkel cells only constitute 1% of the epidermis. These cells, they are associated with sensory nerve endings. So those are the skin receptors that they detect, for example, pain or temperature, okay? And Langerhans cells, 1% only, they are like macrophage, they are considered macrophage-like dendritic cells. So they are phagocytic cells that helps in the immune system of the epidermis. And the epidermis is typically, so this layer, epidermis, typically contains some layers, okay? So from superficial to deep, as you see here, we have the stratus corneum, lucidum, granulosum, spinosum, and basale. So typically I can tell you that we have two types of skin, thin skin and thick skin. In the thick skin, we have those 5 layers, okay, of epidermis. And in the thin skin, we only have 4 layers, okay? So the first layer, the most superficial layer is stratum corneum. This layer, it has like multiple layers of flattened, dead, and interlocking keratinocytes. So the keratinocytes, they are dead. They don't have nuclei, neither organelles. Okay, so in the stratum corneum we mainly have dead cells. And those dead cells, they keep like our skin keeps like brushing off these dead cells like constantly. And then the other layer, it's called stratum lucidum. It appears as a glassy layer on the palms and the soles. So this layer, lucidum, is only present in the thick skin. Okay, so thin skin, we don't have stratum lucidum. We have stratum granulosum. This layer is composed by flattened keratinocytes producing keratin. So this layer, it mainly has those keratinocytes, and also it gets like thicker, gradually thicker, and gradually the cells, they die in this layer as well, okay? Stratum spinosum contains tonofilaments, which provide strength and flexibility to the skin. Okay, so those tonofilaments present in the cytoskeleton, that they will confer this the elasticity properties of the skin. And finally, the deepest one is the stratum basale. It's a single row of stem cells attached to the dermis. So those here are the youngest cells. They are stem cells that they are constantly differentiating to these keratinocytes, okay? So this is a mnemonics I hope this can help you to learn the layers of the epidermis. Okay, so this is from superficial to deep. We have this mnemonics, which is called "Come, let's get sunburned." So C for stratum corneum, L for stratum lucidum, G for granulosum, S for spinosum, and B for basale. So we have these mnemonics that will help you to learn the layers from superficial to deep, okay? And then here we also see like those are real pictures, okay, from histological pictures, micrographies from the epidermis layers. Okay, here the epidermis layers that you see, we only have, so this is a representation of a thin skin. You know why? Thin skin, because we don't have stratum lucidum here, okay? We have corneum, granulosum, spinosum, and basale. We have 4 layers only here. So this is a thin skin in which the stratum lucidum is missing. And on the other part here of the picture, we see the most predominant cells in each layer. So that we have here stratum corneum, we have mainly dead cells. So these cells here are dead keratinocytes. Granulosum, we have keratinocytes, they are flattened here, and their organelles are constantly deteriorating, and the cells eventually die. Okay. In the stratus spinosum, we have, so this is the layer which gives elasticity to the skin because we have tonofilaments, okay? And the basale, stratum basalis, is the layer which we have the stem cells that are, they have this active mitotic, the cells are actively mitotic stem cells. So this means that they are constantly multiplying. Okay, so the skin, so this is the young layer. This is constantly in mitosis. Okay, so the cells multiply and they will go from deep to superficial. Okay, so here they are actively alive, okay, and then as they go superficially, they start dying, so that in the most superficial layer, we only have dead cells, okay, in the stratum corneum. And then this is the second layer of the skin. We have epidermis, and this is the dermis. Then the dermis is a dense and flexible connective tissue. Okay, so the main cells that compose the dermis are fibroblasts, macrophages, mast cells, and white blood cells. We have those predominant fiber types in the dermis: collagen, elastic fibers, and reticular fibers. This is rich, has a rich supply of nerves and vessels. And the dermis has 2 layers. The most superficial layer is the papillary layer, which is irregular connective tissue, which includes the dermal papillae. I will show you the next picture. And the reticular layer, which is mainly made of dense network of collagen and reticular fibers. So this is the picture that I told you. So this is the dermis that you see here, green asterisk. The papillary layer, which is this irregular connective tissue. This is loose tissue. And the reticular layer, which is let's say, the vast area of the dermis is reticular layer. In the reticular layer, we have like vessels, we have glands, we have nerves, okay? So this is the reticular layer of the dermis. So here I show you, I commented to you before, but there you go again. This here exemplifies the differences between epidermis and dermis, okay, in the thick and thin skin. But actually the main difference, what makes the difference? This is the question. What makes the difference is actually the stratum lucidum that you see here is only present in the thick skin. We don't have stratum lucidum in the thin skin. Okay, the dermis, they are very similar in both thick skin and thin skin. Okay, so what makes the difference is stratum lucidum. And now we have the skin appendages. So those are accessory structures in the integumentary system. We have nails. They grow from the nail matrix, okay, that you see here, nail matrix. And they are mainly composed of hard and tightly packed keratinized cells. So those cells, they form keratin, but like very highly packed. So this is what gives the hardness of the nails, this characteristic. And the main function is to protect the exposed tips of the fingers and toes and help to limit distortion when the digits are subjected to mechanical stress, such as when we grab an object. So this mechanical stress, this helps, the nails helps to protect the skin, the distortion. They limit the distortion when we have these mechanical stresses. We have another skin appendage, which is the hair. The hair follicle is here, that you see here, is a depression of epidermal cells deep into the dermis. So here is epidermis, and they go deep into the dermis. And this makes the hair follicle, okay? The hair is present in most skin surfaces except the palms, the soles, the nipples, and parts of the genitalia. And we have basically two types of hair. We have vellus hair. This one is only found, this is mainly found in many areas of our skin. So this type of hair, the vellus, is a very fragile hair, thin, very narrow hair that in most of the cases, it doesn't project so outside the skin, okay? So it's very short hair. This is the hair that we see like in babies, and also in adult females, in women. And the terminal hair is the hair that is thick, okay, that we see in our head, eyebrows. We have the terminal hair. We have next the exocrine glands, which are also considered accessory skin appendages. We have, you were introduced before to in the endocrine system. You learned the basic differences between an endocrine and an exocrine gland, okay? So the exocrine glands, they secrete substances to the external environment, okay? So in the skin, we mainly have those and exocrine glands here. They are sweat glands that are classified in two types. We have eccrine or merocrine sweat glands, or sudoriferous glands is the same. And we have apocrine sweat glands. The sweat glands, those types here, they secrete a watery substance, okay? So this is an example of an eccrine or merocrine sweat gland. They secrete water, okay, the sweat, through the sweat pores. We have pores in our skin, and they directly secrete the sweat here in the outside of the skin, okay? And the apocrine sweat glands is this type here that you see, the blue one here. This is an apocrine sweat gland, and it secretes the sweat inside into the hair follicle. Okay, so it's not directly into the skin pore. It goes through in the hair follicle and then outside the skin. So those types of sweat glands, they secrete sweat, watery sweat. Okay, this watery sweat, it's worth to mention that we have like many bacteria that live over here, our skin. Okay, they they are present mainly, so these types of sweat glands, they are present mainly in the axilla, in the groin area, in the groins, in the nipples, okay? So the bacteria that live in this area, they consume this substance, the sweat, okay? And when the bacteria consume the sweat, the sweat digestion by the bacteria will produce the odor, the bad odor that we have when we sweat, basically. So the odor is because of the digestion of this sweat by the bacteria living on the skin. And we have another type of exocrine glands here that are the sebaceous glands or oil glands. Okay, so this here in purple, this is a sebaceous gland. So this gland usually they are attached to the hair follicle, and they secrete a fatty substance called sebum. Okay, so this is oily, is different. The product is different from the sweat glands, because here in the sweat glands we have watery sweat, and here we have oily sweat. Okay. We have other types of sweat glands, of exocrine glands that also are present in the integumentary system. Examples, we have the ceruminous glands. They are modified apocrine glands found in the outer ear canal. So here is the ear, the outer ear is here. So here in this mucosa, in this epithelium, we have lots of ceruminous glands, and they produce waxy cerumen or earwax. We have also the mammary glands. They are located in the breasts, and they are also modified apocrine glands, which are specialized for milk production. The milk production so actually we have mammary glands in males and females, but the difference is that in females, after the puberty, the mammary glands, they develop. So with the action of hormones, so specifically prolactin in this case, prolactin will trigger the production of milk, okay, in the female. So that's the difference, because in the male, the mammary glands, they are not matured. So that's why males, they don't produce milk. And finally, we have the subcutaneous tissue. So again, the subcutaneous tissue is not part of the skin. This is part of the integumentary system. Okay, this is also known as hypodermis or superficial fascia. This is the lowermost layer of the integumentary system. It is constituted by adipose tissue attached to the deep aspect of the dermis. Okay, so we have epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous or hypodermis. Okay, the functions of this layer is to increase the mobility of the skin. It provides thermal insulation to the body. It offers shock absorption and also can offer a source of energy to the body, because adipose tissue here we have its storage of energy uh, if 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 needed. We have in the subcutaneous tissue some structures apart from the adipose tissue. We also can have uh, muscles. Okay, so this is a typical muscle that is classified as subcutaneous muscle, okay, or superficial muscle, because most of the muscles they are attached to bones. Okay, in case of the platysma is a superficial muscle which covers most of the anterior and lateral aspects of the neck, as you see here. It runs just below the dermis in the superficial fascia in the cervical region. So the platysma, the origins, we have here the skin fascia of infra and supraclavicular regions that we see here. So it's not attached directly to the clavicle. It's instead, this is attached to the superficial, superficial fascia, okay, not directly to the bone. And then it inserts in the lower border of the mandibular, the skin of the buccal cheek region, lower lip, and this area here of the orbicular oris muscle in the mouth. The actions is to depress the mandible and the angle of the mouth. It tenses the skin of lower face and anterior neck. So as you see here in this picture, it goes like this. Can you see my platysma contract? So that's it. Finally, we have another clinical relevance of the integumentary system is that when I introduced the subject to you, I told you that the integumentary system can tell us if someone is young or old. So aging, the integumentary system suffers like many changes during the aging process. The main changes that we can see in the integumentary system is that the skin gets paler because we have like fewer melanocytes, and this also reduces the tolerance for skin exposure. We have like reduced skin repair. So when we get injured, it takes time for the skin to heal again, because we also lose some of the immune cells that we have, the dendritic cells that we have here in the integumentary system, decrease the immunity. So we have thin epidermis, reduced sweat gland activity, reduced blood supply. The epidermis gets dry as well with the reduction of sebaceous sweat gland activity, and reductions of sex hormone levels that also change in distribution of the fat and loose hair, because fat and hair, they are under control of hormones. So those are the main differences that we see during the aging process. And that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed, and I invite you to go to Moodle and complete the practical activities that you have there. Thank you for watching.